Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining TOS C3's Cloud Academy. Today in Cloud Academy, we're going to discuss what is cloud computing, and enjoy today. It's our first go at this, and we're pretty excited and hope it'll be informative, but we'd like to make it interactive and fun. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask. If not, we will have a formal Q&A at the end of the presentation. So today we're going to discuss basically who TOS is, what cloud computing is and what it can do for your business, Office 365, and Google Apps. You can also have a chance to register for the live demonstration, which is on Thursday at 3 o'clock, and we'll give you a link for that, followed by Q&A for this presentation today and perhaps any cloud question that you might have. So real briefly, TOS was founded in 1985, and we established our cloud in 2000 with the acquisition of a AT&T data center. We have a little over 3,500 clients in North America, multiple data centers, and we like to say that we've been delivering the cloud before the cloud was cool. The cloud started getting cool a couple years back, and now it's really coming into its own. Mobile device management is probably one of the big areas that we get lots of calls on, people asking how to manage assets, laptops, notebooks, tablets, iPhones, iPads, etc. And we have a great partnership with some internal IP and enterprise class providers out there in the industry where we can give you full access and control of inventory, geotechnology, so you know where
has arrived,
etc. More importantly today, we're going to be focusing more towards IT as a utility. You'll learn that the consumption of IT in the cloud is purchased more as you would purchase electricity and water than you would purchase capital expense on equipment and hardware. Our IT as a utility product, and TOS, yes, is the only place you can actually get IT as a utility. We are federally registered and recognized by the U.S. government as the provider of IT as a utility. You might hear IT as a service. It has lots of meaning, different meaning from what we do, so we look forward to positioning and letting you know what our system can handle. So let's get right into the presentation. Basically, you in the cloud, this is what a cloud data center might look like. Basically, very large warehouse-type environments with millions and millions of dollars worth of enterprise-class computing power and storage, basically leveling the playing field so that a small business with 5 users can look and perform at IT efficiency as a multi-billion-dollar corporation would, because you'll be using the same hardware and software platform as those multi-billion-dollar endeavors without actually having to pay for them. So the cloud opportunity right now, let me close this window here that popped up, that's part of the fun today, is global spending, how it's been accelerating from 2010 and projections into 2015. As you can see, it's gone from $74 billion to a projected $177 billion, and I believe that's actually been readjusted closer to $200 billion at this point. When people are asked through a survey made by Accenture, 669 IT decision makers were asked if the cloud was here to stay or what their thought process was around cloud computing. Only 9% said it was a fad. I would guess that's probably about 3% now. 13% at the time felt that it would transform their business, while 32% were looking at it as a cheaper substitute for IT, and 46% believe that it would enable organizations to do business more quickly, be more flexible, and more competitive so that they could focus on their business. When people adopt the cloud, they either go all the way in with IT as a utility or they take a stepped approach. The number one stepping stone would be email, followed by file storage, Office applications, web conferencing, and video conferencing, and telephony at this point as well with voice over IP systems. So cloud computing is growing significantly, but IT jobs aren't. That's the key thing that we need to focus on. So, you know, if you're in an IT position, make yourself invaluable outside of traditional break-fix, become invaluable in terms of a business process and other ways that you can help the organization through technology without having to actually spin the CDs yourself. 10 times growth in real and virtual servers worldwide over the next 10 years. 50 times the number of bytes being managed by enterprise data centers, growing exponentially with big data initiatives, and only 1.5 times the IT professionals. So you can see that technology and the consumption of technology is far outpacing the growth jobs in people that will actually manage that. And the reason for that is cloud data centers are consolidating and allowing much more leverage so that the HR resources necessary in IT are diminishing. So let's get right into what cloud computing is. We're basically using it right now. So WebEx, now owned by Cisco, is one of the founders of cloud technologies, been out there quite a while, along with Salesforce and LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Gmail. These are all examples of cloud computing. So you've been using cloud computing, whether you know it or not, for a number of years. Basically, cloud computing is the hosted service or application or IT process that's being delivered securely over internet connections via a web browser using web technology and encryption, so that there is nothing physically loaded or hosted in terms of applications, servers, and such at your facility. However, you're getting the benefit of these great resources available to you anywhere from any device at any times. Two of the large cloud providers, I know Amazon is not here, but it was just recently announced within the last month or so that they came out with a desktop as a service offering that would allow them to compete in this environment, but still really on the infrastructure side. So what I mean by that is, just to mention about Amazon for a moment, is that you can create desktops in the cloud just as you can with servers. However, you're going to be doing all the maintenance, all the loading of applications, and all that management. So basically, it's giving you scale outside of your building, but it isn't helping you with your IT initiative. It's still keeping you in the IT business because you need to manage those servers. What a true cloud and what true cloud offerings can enable you to do is get out of the IT business and focus 100% on your business, on your industry, whether that be manufacturing, insurance, legal, healthcare, financial, et cetera. So Microsoft has a great product. It's called Office 365. And if you're a full Microsoft shop, running Great Plains, CRM, SharePoint, Lync, Microsoft Office, Outlook, Exchange, and that's what you're focused on, then Microsoft 365 is a good option for you. The only downside is if you were to run outside of Microsoft products such as QuickBooks or Autonomy, iManage, which is a product for managing documents, or any other accounting application, line of business application that's specific to your industry, et cetera, then it would be impossible for Microsoft to put that in your cloud for you and integrate it with your storage and your Exchange and email environment, because if you think about it, their economy of scale comes from being able to manage thousands and hundreds of and millions of people in an automated way and not create a one-off custom network for a 500 or 1,000 or even a 10,000 user company, located elsewhere. They just can't afford to do that. Google, great, as you know, Google, one of the best companies out there in technology. They have an open free platform of services as well as paid services. They have their own implementations of these applications, their own word processor, their own spreadsheet products, their own database products. And their integration with Microsoft Office and products can be a little bit fuzzy sometimes, as well as other customers that have moved to enterprise class Gmail have been concerned about privacy and data security and ownership, along with the openness of that platform for users who are used to a very structured Outlook environment. It becomes frustrating and sometimes limiting to productivity. Basically, in terms of Microsoft Office and Google Apps, they both offer that there is no need for you guys to install expensive, powerful desktops or laptops or anything of that nature or servers at your environment. Everything is in the cloud. The downside is that customer service is not immediate. You know, you may be sent overseas for initial calls. It may be electronic a lot of the times. And no one's going to explicitly understand and know your environment. So it's going to be kind of a cold call, if you will, from a technology standpoint. The other situation that I wanted to bring to your attention is that it is inexpensive, however. So it's inexpensive monthly fee. If you're looking to get mail and documents in the cloud, then either of these two options are a good fit for you, perhaps. So, some questions that you need to ask before you move your company's network and information to the cloud are, where will my data reside? So this is important to know because physically, your data will no longer be within your organization's infrastructure or buildings that you either own or rent. So it's important to have an understanding of geography, especially for legal reasons. You know, is my data outside the U.S.? You know, is it in Bangladesh somewhere? Is it in Canada? Or, you know, where is my data? That's very important to know. The next thing is how many copies of your data will be in the cloud. The reason this is important is should you determine that you would like to change providers or delete data securely, you want to make sure that that data is eradicated so that there aren't free-floating copies or, you know, extraneous information that you're expecting to have been destroyed available out there, because you know how powerful the internet is. You can do a search for something and stumble upon some pretty sensitive information by accident. So you want to make sure that your data doesn't fall into that accidental category of falling into the wrong hands. Who will have physical access to your data? The reason this is important is you want to make sure that your data is going to be maintained securely in a professional way. If you're using a company that is just a straight co-location facility, and you know there are undetermined amount of people who go into that data center facility, you know, how can you guarantee, or how can they guarantee that, you know, somebody won't inadvertently, you know, kick a cord out or grab a disk or a USB or something like that? Because even though cages are locked and should be locked, you know, many times, you know, humans are humans, they forget to do that, things get left open and so on, so that's important. Backing up your data. A lot of people make the assumption that, gee, if my data is with Microsoft and it's in the cloud, and I think rightfully so, they assume that their data is being backed up. You know, however, that's really not the case. If you carefully read these contracts from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and others, even smaller providers, they're saying that the owner of the service is not responsible for the day-to-day backup and disaster recovery of your data. They're only responsible for bringing the infrastructure up that they're providing for you to usable standards. So in other words, what that means is if a server crashes and you lose all of your data for the past month, year, 10 years, that the responsibility of the service provider is just to make the service again available to you with no data. And it's your responsibility to restore the data that you need to run your business properly back onto those servers. So as I think you can agree that we can all agree that that's an important question that needs to be answered and addressed when you're looking to move to the cloud. Data destruction kind of goes along with how many copies of data are in the cloud. The importance for this is that, you know, many things like personal information, privacy laws like we have in Massachusetts and that they have federally, and then especially for HIPAA and banking and so on, data needs to be handled properly and destroyed to DoD standards. So what is their process for doing that? I asked a cold call question to one of the large providers in the cloud, asking them, you know, as a prospective customer, you know, what would be the the process of getting my data deleted, and how long would that happen? And they said it would take somewhere up to 2 or 3 weeks. And then I asked, gee, would you send us a certificate? You know, how would I know that the data was destroyed? How can you guarantee that for me? And they said, well, you know, frankly, sir, to be honest, we literally don't know where your data is. It's on these pods that are all across the world, and really we couldn't help you with that requirement. So that was kind of important for me to understand. Well, that basically explains a little bit about what cloud computing is, you know, what you should look for, what you should try to avoid, you know, get an understanding of what your goals are with the moving to the cloud. You're just trying to save money, you're trying to get more efficient, you're trying to get out of the IT business, and understanding some of those questions up front will be really helpful in having a successful implementation for you. This Thursday at 3 o'clock, we'll be giving a cloud computing demonstration. We're actually going to show you how the cloud functions and feels, what the experience will be like. You'll see how you'll be able to control your desktop in the cloud, the speed and versatility, and you know how the cloud can help take IT off of your hands. This will be a very hands-on interactive demo coming up this Thursday at 3 o'clock. There's a URL down here that you can copy down and go sign up for that. We'll also email this information to all of you that attended today, but the address is right down here. Additionally, if you're interested in reading the full report, of which this presentation has been an excerpt of, you can download that by clicking on isthecloudforus.com. Right down at the bottom here, isthecloudforus.com. At this time, I'd love to entertain any questions and help you with anything regarding this presentation's material or any particular cloud question that you might have to bring to my attention.
Thank you, Mike. This is Tom. I was just appreciate the input. One of the questions I had is, would the monthly amount, the charge that you pay on a monthly recurring revenue basis, could that change?
That's a great question. The cost per user, and that's how, you know, cloud technology is consumed. You know, once we identify what your needs are, we give you a low cost per user per month, and that flat fee is fixed for the term of the contract. Our average starting term is 36 months. You know, however, we would guarantee that up to 60 months if that was a requirement for you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have a question. Moving to the cloud,
sure.
I know that everything is now relying on your internet access out to the internet. Is there a way to gauge, to understand how much bandwidth I need for the cloud on an average, or how do we determine that?
Sure, absolutely. So, great question. Bandwidth is important, and you know, I'll add an additional thing to that. And what I mean by that is, you know, how do you get redundancy for your internet provider? Do you currently have one provider or more providers?
Currently, I have one provider, and we've had them for quite a long time.
Okay, great. So, you know, one of the questions I get is, gee, what happens if the internet goes down? Well, you know, I wish I had a magic wand and I could say that doesn't happen and tell you that everything would be okay, but the reality is if you lose internet connectivity, then you've lost your ability to reach your cloud provider. So you would lose access at that point. So the way to mitigate that is to have multiple ISPs or multiple internet connections. And you can use a product. We have one called WAN Up. That's a wide area network uptime. And you can put one or more internet providers into our appliance, which is 24/7 managed and monitored for you. And when all providers are up, we aggregate the bandwidth. So if you have 10 meg from provider A and 10 meg from provider B, when both providers are up, you have 20 meg to use. If either provider loses connectivity, the other automatically fails over until the down connection regains, and then it will rejoin and give you your 20 again. So that's basically, how you would handle that. In terms of, how much bandwidth you need per user would be determined by how heavy printing and downloading you would need. So to give you an example, if you're a heavy download and printing shop, then you would need more bandwidth than a customer who would basically not be printing everything and would be basically just using information in the cloud mostly, and the processing would be happening there. So, if you're interested in learning more about that, then we can understand your profile and your number of users and run it through our provisioning calculator and give you an exact amount of how much we feel that you would need so that you would have a very fast and reliable experience.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Mike, another question I had was we use time slips in our business. Is that something you can help us with to integrate into the solution?
Absolutely. So, the benefit of cloud computing, and specifically TOS Cloud and IT as a utility, is that any Microsoft Windows Server compatible application or Linux application, we can stand up in the cloud in the provisioning portal and make it cloud available to communicate with all of your applications as if you had a physical network at your facility. Specifically, time slips made by Sage software is one of the more popular time and billing systems for professional service organizations. And we have a number of companies using versions as far back as 6 years ago all the way up to the current version.
Thank you. That's excellent.
Do we have any other questions?
Mike, I don't want to take up all the questions, but I had one more. Our company only has 10 people in it. Are we too small for the cloud?
Oh, definitely not. In fact, a home user with only one user, there is a cloud solution available for even that type of a small head count. A 10-user organization, we find to be very beneficial for cloud computing in the sense that they gain so much for so little, because literally you'll be able to run, your 10 users on a reliable system at the equivalent level of Fidelity Investments IT infrastructure for pennies on the dollar that they paid to have that. So 10 users is absolutely perfect for IT as utility.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have one last question. So in interest of evaluating the cloud, how do we go about to the next step? Is there information I need to provide, or is there a process that is in place to help determine if it's right for me?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll be putting up some contact information for you. Myself, Jay Marconi, we're available from a technical standpoint for solution and management. We have Greg Halunin and Tom McElligott. Their contact information is below. Feel free to reach out to them, and they'll get back to you. Our process is pretty simple. It's doing a assessment, if you will, predetermination based on input that you'll give us on our IT as a utility intake form, where we will learn about the number of servers, users, applications, functions, and how you do business today with IT and how that helps you and how it helps you expand your business. And from that, we'll be able to put together a comprehensive proposal where you can see the benefits of the cloud and how moving to IT as a utility would make your company much more efficient while giving you the ability to work remotely and not have to spend large capital amounts on upgrading and maintaining an in-house IT system.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? No? Well, great. Well, I want to thank you all very much for taking the past 20 minutes of your afternoon and spending them with TOS, Cloud Academy, and learning about what cloud computing is and how it might be beneficial to you. We'll be having a next training on next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, where we'll be learning more about cloud computing and what the impacts are. And again, Thursday at 3 o'clock, please join us for IT as Utility live demonstration. I thank you all very much and have a great rest of the afternoon.